Welcome to What Did You Learn, a new series that explores how marketers are handling the challenges of the pandemic. Today, I am so excited to welcome our first guest, Amanda Todorovich, who is the head of content at the Cleveland Clinic. I'm going to allow Amanda to introduce herself and give us her full title.
I'm Amanda Todorovich. I am our Senior Director of Enterprise Digital Content at Cleveland Clinic. So basically, I'm responsible for the team that manages all of our digital content for our website, our blog, social media, email newsletters, pretty much anything that's consumer/patient facing.
Okay, awesome. So we're going to do a series of rapid fire questions just to get to know you a little bit, Amanda. And so my first question to you, and I'm laughing because I already know the answer to this, but what's the first thing you baked in quarantine?
Oh my goodness. I think it was a cake for my daughter's birthday, actually.
And what hobby did you take up?
Nothing really crazy. We've done a couple of puzzles that were fun. And then I actually started really writing notes, handwritten notes, and mailing something to somebody every day. Just kind of more of a practice of gratitude.
So great. Which TikTok dance did you learn?
Oh, I actually haven't learned any of them, to be honest, but I have watched my daughters do a million of them. And literally every night there's a show. Because, and the songs get stuck in your head and it's seriously so annoying.
So annoying. So annoying. But fun. I'm glad they have that. I wish they would do their schoolwork instead. All right. So let's get into what you learned. So if you had to reflect back on the last 700 days, what is the thing that you wish you had known before this started?
You know, I think the biggest thing is how amazing my team can be remotely under pressure. You know, before all of this, we were 100% in the office all day, every day, physically together. And you thought that that was like the reason why the team was so great or why there was so much chemistry between the team and things like that. But literally overnight, we went to 100% working from home and we haven't been back in the office yet. And we have, I think, delivered some of the best work we've ever done and remained really close as a team. So I wish I would have known that before, because I think the way we worked would probably have been different, because I think that we've been more effective and more efficient in this way.
Why specifically?
Because honestly, we were really meeting aggressive before. I mean, we spent a lot of time in meetings, and this way we do less of that and a lot more doing. And we're using different tools to stay in touch. And, you know, just because we're not physically in the office, sitting together and having those meetings doesn't mean we're any less connected. You know, things like Slack have been game changing for us. And so, you know, I feel like we've been able to just really stay focused more and to just have more constant, steady flow of communication instead of these scheduled 1 hour chunks of time to talk about a specific thing.
What have you learned about your specific practice that you would like to communicate with other people who are in your boat or want to be in your boat? Because you've produced some of the best content that anyone has produced across the world about this pandemic. So what do you want to say to the community of marketers and content creators?
Thank you for that, first of all. You know, I think the biggest, most important thing that I've learned during this time is that we didn't shift our strategy in a big way because of this. We have always been committed to what our audience wants, being useful, helpful, and relevant to them. And that is true during this time, even more so. And I think the biggest takeaway for me is how critical content is under duress. You know, you can use content to calm fears, to really educate people on brand new things that they know nothing about, that they're hungry for information about. You build trust in a way with content that is impossible with any other marketing tactic. If you look at what we've created and the topics that we've covered during this, little to none of them had anything to do with our own organization or actual appointments or any of that. I mean, while we handled the logistics and explained things to people, most of it was really trying to help people deal with the circumstances and living, you know, at home 24/7 with their families and their kids and just trying to be helpful. And so, you know, we didn't flip a switch and become that, you know, because of COVID. That's what we've been doing with Health Essentials and with our content strategy this entire time. It's just the topics changed to be more COVID specific and to be almost exclusively COVID for a period of time. So, you know, to me, it's reinforced the importance of content marketing and staying true to really impactful and meaningful content for your audience.
Okay, so I would love to refine something that you said, because I think it's so interesting. You basically said like your core strategy statement, the useful, relevant, what's the third thing?
Useful, helpful, and relevant.
Useful, helpful, and relevant. Does a piece of content ever cross your desk, or that when you're ideating with your team, you look at that piece of content and you go, no, yes, maybe? And then what do you do with that piece of content? Because I do think that one of the things that we're dealing with is that there's a lot of people involved in this pot, even now more than there were before. And sometimes they want to do things or we want to do things, and it doesn't exactly fit our core strategy statement, but it does seem to be useful and relevant to the audience right now. So how do you balance those two things?
Sure. I think one thing that we did really early on that helped kind of make those decisions a little easier was to create this really one source of truth landing page that helped us kind of put things that wouldn't necessarily traditionally go on the blog or wouldn't traditionally fit on our website in a clinical area, so that we could kind of put things, you know, that were really helpful to patients and to people. They needed the information. It just was a little bit like, where does this fit? You know, because what we didn't want to do was force things into buckets that they didn't belong in. And there were also definitely topics and questions that we weren't really the right people to answer. You know, while this is a health topic, not all the questions were health related. And so, you know, I think where we could point people to other resources and lean on things like CDC, you know, we did. There's definitely a place for us that we wanted to be in, and we wanted to be as comprehensive in what we could provide as possible. But, you know, at the same time, it's always good to be able to answer questions in the right places where people would naturally be looking for them. And so the landing page was our one source of truth. We pointed everything there, and you could access literally everything we did that had anything to do with COVID from it. So that helped a lot. FAQ content's critical in this time. So, you know, that's not something we do all the time. And it really required a lot of collaboration with our incident command to review. So, you know, it wasn't just obviously our call about what to talk about. There's a lot of people that had to weigh in on that. And so, you know, I think what's been interesting during this time is that one of our struggles under normal circumstances is getting approvals and getting, you know, right. Yeah. But during this, it was like immediate. They were on standby and ready to go for us. And so, you know, again, it was kind of easier to just make quick judgment calls.
That's another question I wanted to ask you. How are you governing this content? How are you keeping track of what needs to get sunset in another 700 days, or let's hope 7 days? Maybe there'll be a miracle. We like miracles. How are you making sure that you're keeping track of everything that you're creating? Because I assume the blog content, you're going to want to keep that up, but what about other types of content?
Yeah, so the rest of the website, we were very careful from the get-go about the footprint of this, and really not wanting to go into every single clinical area, every single location page. We ended up putting a banner at the top of every single page on our entire website, pointing people to the landing page so that we could contain it as best we could and limit how sprawling this was for that exact reason. Because especially with things like hours and services shutting down, it's paid off huge now as things start to reopen. Right. So we really try to keep service-oriented updates on the landing page, any information related to what people needed to do to get to an appointment or things they needed to bring for testing, all of that stuff. We really kept it tight. The landing page was the source of truth, is comprehensive in its entirety, but really trying to keep it there so that we don't have a mess to clean up all over the place. And also because if we had allowed a lot of what was asked of us, the messaging would have been inconsistent as well, because every clinical area had something different to say. And so it really helped us contain it. The governance piece of it, honestly, has been a tremendous partnership between my team and our corporate communications colleagues. We have not published a single COVID related thing without their involvement. They've helped us identify the right experts to talk about which aspects of this. They've gotten everything approved with us and for us. We've definitely shared language across different channels and platforms together. Slack has been huge with that as well. We've created joint channels between departments, which we never had before. It was just our own thing. And, you know, that's been critical. And they were really our liaison to that incident command group. Because they were our head of internal communications and a couple of the other directors were in there all the time, so they could just put stuff in front of people for us.
What do you think will carry over into marketing practices? So I don't want to give you an answer, but it's interesting because one of the number one things people are saying is that I believe this will help us continue to break down these silos if they haven't been broken down completely. Do you feel like that's the future?
I do 100%. And to be honest, it's not just even about within marketing. We've been able to do so much with our partners in ITD, with our partners in patient experience, the people managing our call center. Like, our relationships have strengthened so much, and so many standing meetings and check-ins have been put in place that I think will definitely continue. And it's also, I think, woken up people to the fact that we need to listen to our patients and give them what they're looking for. And that's been awesome for us, because that's what we're always advocating for, but to get more people to get there on their own and to understand what our team does and how we can help. The exposure of the work that we've been able to do during this time has been huge at the highest levels. There's new newsletters coming out from our CEO every week. That didn't exist before, and our team wasn't involved in any of that. And now we are managing it. It's just been a phenomenal opportunity for collaboration and relationship building across a very large enterprise for us.
That's incredible. I really hope it's true.
Me too. Fingers crossed.
Is there anything else that you think, when you look back at 2020, besides wishing it had been like in the movie 3 months later, but is there anything else that you think you'll look back on and say, my practice as a marketer changed because of this thing that happened?
I just think it reinforces our commitment to it. I don't think it's necessarily changed much for us, other than the volume under duress and creating things. Published 7 articles a day for a while. So the volume is crazy, but it pushed us to understand our limits, to know what we could do and how much further could we push our own team ongoing. And, the other thing I think is that we learned so much more about our audience during this time, right? They all were going under this same emotional, crazy journey that we are. And so to sort of see that play out in the data and understand how accurate are the metrics, right? Does it really reflect what people are feeling and doing? And to see, like, in March, for example, we were over 11 million visits to Health Essentials. Previously, our highest number ever in a month was over 8 million. So the jump was tremendous. And it just proved that when you are there for people in those moments of need, they stay, because traffic hasn't gone down. I think, like I said before, content builds trust and relationships in really powerful ways. And like I said, it's not new for us. It just reinforces it and makes it, I think, more important to our organization than it was even before.
When you create a bumper sticker of 6 words for yourself about quarantine or the pandemic, can you sum it up in 6 words?
In 6 words, I don't think they are necessarily a coherent 6 words together, but my 6 words off the top of my head were, the first one is intense. This was just intense. I mean, the first 2 weeks were just a complete blur, unprecedented. I think this has just been crazy amount of work, and a little overwhelming for everybody, and not just because of the work, but just because of the feelings. I also feel like, as much as there's been division, there's also been a lot of uniting of teams, uniting of mission, and really breaking down silos, like we talked about, evolving. I think seeing the journey of how people felt about all of this was fascinating. In the beginning, it was all about this hunger for the information of what is this new virus and how do I know if I have it? Then you kind of got to the point where people were tired of hearing it. And, the COVID fatigue is what we were talking a lot about. And then they were angry. And now they're just like, okay, now we're moving on, but it's not the same. And so how do I live in these circumstances? So that evolution of the journey, I think, is amazing. And then the final word for me, really, and this is more personal than anything else, is just reflective. It was such an amazing time to just see what really matters to you and what's really important to you and your family. What are you missing the most that you couldn't do for this long? And that to me, I think, has been the biggest benefit of all.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Amanda. It was great to have you, and thank you for sharing your insight with us. We're all going to learn what you've learned.
Thank you.